Hey Stitch family, it's Andrew here. I hope you've had a good start to 2026. Can you believe we're a month into the year already? It's just flowing by like crazy. I know that there's been a lot on and some bad things happening in the real world out there for the start of the year. But when I wish you the best, I'm wishing you the best in the context of this safe place that's called Stitch. And I'm hoping that your community and the members of the community help enrich your life as a counterpoint to what might be happening out there for whatever that's worth, and bring you some joy. If you're a long-time member of Stitch, I'm sure that's the case. If you're a new member, I'm hoping that, maybe this video will give you a bit of a glimpse of what to expect this year, and that Stitch can be a real positive influence for you. So this time of every year, I try to put together a bit of a video to the community just to talk about what's happened, where are we at, where are we going, what's going on. And it's really just a taste and a flavour of what we've all achieved together, because remember, nothing happens in the community without the involvement of every member. We can't do it alone. We can build the software and fight the scammers and all that sort of stuff, but really the magic happens with the people who are part of Stitch, and that means you. So without further ado, let's take a look at Stitch in 2025. Now, if you've been a member for a while, you might have watched the video I did last year where I summarized the previous year. And I started the slides with an image that kind of captured the feeling that we had of where Stitch was at that point. And it was this one. We felt as though after the longest time in a dark tunnel, we were emerging and the future looked bright. We weren't fully out of the tunnel yet, but we could see, we could almost taste it, how much we could look forward to. And when we talk about the dark tunnel, we went through, as a community, as a global population really, we went through some pretty dark times during the COVID years. And that was a real challenge for us as a community. Obviously, people were being in lockdown, there was funding issues, we were losing people, you couldn't do in-person events and activities. How would we keep the community going? And even after that, how we could get it to a point of financial sustainability where we could really put our attention into growing Stitch in new areas and creating joy for everybody. And we felt as though we'd made a lot of progress towards that goal. We weren't quite there yet, but we could see the future. I started thinking about an image. This was a generated image, but I thought, I think I want to use one from the community. And I thought about I had some amazing fun experiences with lots of members last year, as I'm sure you all did. But I thought the one for me that captured it the most was this one. This is me at a community event in Hobart, Tasmania, one of my favourite cities in the whole world. I go there every year. I've been going there for years. In the middle of the year, there's a midwinter festival. And Hobart typifies for me one of the sorts of cities that we wondered for the longest time, would we be able to create communities in cities that were a bit smaller? So Hobart's, relatively speaking, much smaller city than most in Australia. And the community, we tried a bit, but it hadn't really got going. Last year, we introduced a thing called the Pioneer Program, where we help our members who would like to get the community started in their area to get more active, and we put some advertising into it, and it takes a while because we don't have the money until we get the members to join and blah blah blah, but that helps the local community grow. And I went down there and I was blown away by the people I met, wonderfully lovely people I met, but also the stories they shared about how much they'd already done for each other and looking after each other and going on these fantastic events and just changing their lives even at this early stage. And so Hobart for me, it was just an example of one of the many cities that we got started last year in the community. Many of them are only just getting started. Some are just scratching the surface. Some are really booming already. But it's really full of joy, and you can see the smiles on the faces of everyone in this one. I love that trip. I'm going down again this year. So that's going to be fantastic. So for the community, I know that last year in the media, there was a lot of narrative around, I can't wait for 2025 to be over. It's been such a struggle of a year. And personally, actually, I totally got that. I was pretty burnt out by the end of the year. I was working every Saturday and Sunday from February through to December just to try to keep the lights on. And we've got a lot of customer support questions, all that sort of stuff. And I was like, man, was it a good year or not? It could be over. But then when I started looking at really what we achieved and the impact that we'd had, and when I say we, I mean you too. And I think the only thing to conclude actually is 2025 was an amazing year for so many reasons. Now, obviously, in the greater world, there's some bad stuff happening, but we can only control what we can control as a community. And if we are all able to create a positive impact and grow that impact, then I think we can have an impact on the world in general. But within the community, I think it was an amazing year. We grew so much. So I'm just going to share some, they look kind of business-like. They've got some graphs, but that really show, first of all, the numbers, and then I'm going to show some photos to give you the feeling and the vibe of the community last year. So one of the things we always lead with is in-person activities, because that's the hardest thing. It's pretty easy to get online and send a message, but to convince people to get out of their comfort zone and go and meet a complete stranger to get a community started is challenging. Once they've met them, it becomes much easier and it gets easier and easier over time. But it's always the hardest thing to do, but it's also the biggest impact. Doing things in person on a regular basis is how you grow friendships, is how you grow relationships. Remember, friendships are formed, not found. You do something again and again that you enjoy with other people who also enjoy it. Pretty soon, you've got some great new friends. And it was amazing. You can see back here, our years of COVID were a real struggle. We came off a really low base. You couldn't do in-person activities back then. And so we had to do a lot to keep the community afloat. But then once the shackles came off, we were thrilled to see how things grew. And then it grew again. And last year, I'm absolutely blown away that we reached over 10,000 in-person events in communities around the world. Remember, every single number of this graph is a bunch of people getting together to do something to bring some joy to each other and themselves. But lo and behold, look at 2025. It absolutely smashed it out of the park in terms of number of in-person activities. And this is the hardest thing to do. Get people out there doing things in person. Amazing. 23,000 thereabouts in-person events, a massive jump, doubling from the previous year, totally incredible. And if you look at all activities, and this includes virtual activities as well, it also grew. We're getting up to close to 30,000 events. You can see almost doubling there. So great growth in the thing that probably makes the biggest difference to people's lives, but some other really amazing things as well that came along with that. So it's one thing to host more events, but if it's just the same organisers doing a lot more activities, that means we're not really achieving the goal, which is to really enrich the lives of everybody. You know, just having these massive, it's great when these organisers do these massive events, but really the idea with Stitch is that every member of the community has the ability, even if you're a limited member, to organise an activity that you'd like to do. And really, we encourage you to do that, because if it's something you're interested in and other people go along because they're interested in it, guess what? You've found like-minded friends already, and you just need to do it again and again, and you've got a new friendship or set of companions. That's brilliant. We over doubled the number of activity organisers last year. So that means more and more people are feeling more and more comfortable in the community, feeling like they'd like to throw something out there as a way to meet people. Obviously, it's really challenging when you're early stages of a new community, but the more you get comfortable doing it, the more that you're creating joy for yourself and for others. What came with that was a growth in not just how many people were getting involved, but where they're getting involved. So we grew the number of county areas around the world, in the US, Canada. In Australia, we don't call them counties, but they map out to something pretty similar. And so those locations show that we're not just growing a number of members, number of activities, all sorts of things, but the number of places that Stitch is active, and that's really, really cool too. So if you're in an area that is not active today, you can look at a graph like this and go, it's going to happen eventually. Stitch is growing. One of the ways we do this is we have a program called the Pioneer Program. And if you're in an area that's not active, or even if you are, but you'd like to see more activities of a certain type, you can join the Pioneer Program, get a little bit of assistance from us and other members, support, encouragement and guidance about how to make that happen. But we also then, Stitch, devote some budget to advertising in that area, so you get more members joining, and so the community starts to grow that way. And so that's been wonderful to see the number of new locations grow. And then finally, the number of new members. 4 members, the only way that we really run the community, keep it sustainable, and I mentioned advertising, that's one of our big costs. We've got to pay for all our anti-scammer preventions, the running the web servers and paying for the email. Like, our costs really ramp up as the community grows. And the way that we sustain the community is through our memberships. And the memberships that people pay for really goes back into improving their lives. And so that's great. But seeing that the numbers grow last year, we over doubled last year. If we can do that again this year, I'll be just over the moon. I'll be even happier than I am today. So those are all the numbers of things. They're graphs, and they look business-like and so on. But you just got to remember, every single one of those numbers indicates some joy that was created. Activity organisers created joy for themselves because it's great to do these things, but also for so many other people. And so there are ways to if you can kind of see through, it's not just a number, it's people out there. Each event had a bunch of people who decided to put it up, and then they attended and so on. It's quite incredible. So I thought one way to capture that is to show you a few of the photos from this year. So just taking a look at, these are members share photos. By the way, there's a discussion forum where you can post your photos and share it to inspire other members. It's great to see all the sorts of things that are happening in areas like Basingstoke, England, or Tasmania, I mentioned before. All our big events that you see, there's a bunch of parties and so on you'll see from various different locations in our bigger communities, but they're all full of so much joy. It's such a wonder to behold. We also, last year, started to see this big theme really come to fruition of members traveling to meet each other. So just remember, you can travel to any location and see members. You can go to an event in another location if you happen to be there. You can change your location on Stitch, and you can expect they're going to welcome you and treat you as kindly and as friendly as if you're a local member, probably more in fact. And so we're seeing that happen. I'm going to go on a road trip to a few places this year. We've got our get-together in Bath, UK, and you can still got spots to register for that, or they're running out, so get in fast. We've got our Big Stitch trip to Sicily, Big Stitch trip to Ireland. But last year, we kicked things off with, it was a trip to Japan. That was a great adventure. I was lucky enough to go on with a bunch of members, and it was created such deep and really kind of rewarding friendships because we spent so much time together, and really, really cool. I'm lucky enough to see some of the members on a regular basis. We also had our trip down, a Big Stitch trip in the US from Seattle and Portland, regional Oregon, down through the Redwood Forest, down to California, where we not only had an amazing time with the members on that trip, you can see some of the photos, but we had events and activities in Seattle and Portland and even in regional Oregon and San Francisco where local members came out to welcome us and make us feel so special. Some of them dressed up. It was such a great insight and reminder that Stitch is about the people, it's about the fun, it's about the enjoyment, and just taking joy in each other's company. So super, super wonderful. What a wonderful, amazing year for all of us. Last year I ended up with the same set of slides, but it's the same is true today. We've had this vision for Stitch for the longest time, to create a community that is, a life-enriching, life-affirming, improves everyone's well-being. We're saving lives because we're addressing loneliness and isolation, and we're spreading joy. And those things, they don't just happen overnight. You have to really, really work hard. You have to have that vision, the belief. And in our case, it's not just our belief in our ability to write the software. It's our ability, or the ability of the community and people's willingness to buy into this idea that you can make your own life better by making someone else's life better as well. And at the end of the day, we end up having a much better time as it. So we felt like we've had this goal of we had to get to, and we're working towards it. And it's really wonderful when you're mountain climbing, you make it to the peak and you put that flag down. But if you've ever done any mountain climbing, you'll know that very often you get to a peak and you go, oh, there's another peak that I can aim for. Oh, better go for that one. And that's very much what it feels like today. It's fantastic to have got where we are, but we have so many more communities to grow into. We have so many more ways to make Stitch safer for our members. We are under attack right now, an unprecedented number of scammers trying to sign up these days because AI has unlocked a whole lot of opportunity for them to do bad. And it's not just against Stitch, of course, it's scammers using all sorts of tricks on the internet. So one big theme for us is introducing more protection for our members, education as well. There's going to be sessions at the Bath conference about that, and we'll be sharing that with all our members. But it's not just scammers, it's behavior in general. One person, one bad member can join the community and ruin it for everybody. And even if they just ruin it for one person, that's not what we want to see from Stitch. So tightening our controls and raising awareness of what you all can do to help us know what's happening on the ground at events and activities, so that we can make sure that the behavior that really only characterizes one or two people in the community, that can be hunted out and snuffed out before it has an impact on people, which enables the 95, 98% of people who are just wonderful to do what you want to do, which is actually have a good time. So how the safety that we'll be adding, we'll be doing more on the travel front, better ease of use, all that sort of stuff. So many things to achieve and overcome and grow. But the big one is just that if we can improve the lives of more members than we did last year, then we should all be happy. You should all be happy, because again, nothing happens in the community without you. If you're an activity organizer, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for what happened last year. If you've gone to an event or an activity, if you've overcome your social anxiety to go and meet some strangers, you've done something wonderful, because the activity organizer would have been really sad if you hadn't shown up. So you've done something to bring joy to people. If you just responded kindly to another message, you said something nice on the forums, you've joined an interest group, you just got engaged, you are pretty special in my book. And I think, I know Stitch wouldn't exist without all of you. So please keep on doing what you're doing. And if you'd like to do a bit more, by all means, get involved. Don't give up. And remember, you get more out of a community, you get more out of friendships the more you put into it. So be willing to put a little bit in. And it doesn't need to cost you. You can do this as a limited member too. But just, suggest a few activities. Go to a few activities. Do what you want. And you're doing your bit to make the world a better place. So that's it for me with a review of last year. You'll hear a lot more from me this year about various topics. But again, thanks for everything. Look after yourself. I hope to see you at either an event or activity, one of my welcome events, or maybe another video like this. And as I said, look after yourself, look after someone else if you can too. And until next time, bye for now.